They were set up. They, of course, being Adam and Eve, the first humans, according to the wisdom of the tradition. They were set up. You put them in paradise, you can touch anything you want, eat anything, except... Kids, I want you to stay away from those trees in the middle of the garden. Do not eat from either. The tree of the knowledge of good and evil, or the tree of life eternal. They were set up, man. Set up. Think back to when you were a kid, parents going out for the night. Sweetheart, we love you. We trust you. Your mom, she wants to go dancing. We're going to go to Charlie Bolton's. We'll be home probably after you go to sleep. Listen, do whatever you want. Eat whatever you want in the fridge. You can watch, we know you'll use your own good judgment. But listen, whatever you do, we do not want you to go looking around in our nightstands. Adam and Eve were set up. What would you have done? Anything you want, but don't look at the nightstand. The minute you hear that electric slide of the garage door close, first thing you do, right up to the master bedroom, right to the bedside, right into the nightstand. And if you did, you saw things you shouldn't have. You might have seen things you wish you hadn't. Adam and Eve, Garden of Eden, do not eat from the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil. What do you think? What do you think they're going to go for? Poor Sammy the Snake, total setup. Don't go looking at my nightstand, kid. No thing would make me want it more than you telling me not to do it. Parental discretion advised. Oh, really? How can I get around my parents' discretion? How can I avert their advice? Parental discretion advised. Book of Genesis. Adam and Eve set up. First thing I'm going to do, parents go dancing Charlie Bolton's. I'm going right in the nightstand. I am curious. What is it that I am not supposed to know about? What is it that I am not supposed to see? Welcome to the Rated Rabbi Sports Card Podcast, where sports cards and pop culture meet the 1984 All-Star Game. I am your host, Rabbi David Spinrad, and welcome to episode 53, Parental Discretion Advised. What else are we going to call it? Oh my gosh. Remember that wave in the 80s? 1984. Tipper Gore puts together the Parents Music Resource Center, a.k.a. we're going to try to take away all your fun. Eventually leads to this. Take a look. The Parental Advisory Explicit Content sticker on tapes, on albums, and on CDs. Parental Advisory Explicit Content took several years till it became the industry standard. First sticker appears July 1990. Tipper Gore. Pop quiz. Which album was the very first one to have the Parental Advisory Explicit Content sticker? I'll give you a second to think about it. July 1990. Well, it's none other than Luke Skywalker, Two Wise, and the Two Live Crew. What was the album? Banned in the USA, of course, 1990. Tipper Gore. Thank you so much for stimulating the album sales of Two Live Crew. Ice Cube, Ice-T, and so many others. If I saw that sticker on something I wanted, if you told me I can't read a book because you try to ban it, I'm going to read that book. That's like a reading list to me. So when you had a movie as well that said, or a TV show that said parental discretion advised, man, it just made me want it more. Don't go looking in our nightstand. You might see something we don't want you to. Bottom of the fifth inning. How do we get there? I don't know, but here we are. Bottom of the fifth inning. If you've been following along so far, I retraced my steps some way, shape, or form. We've actually been we've been in the bottom of the fifth inning since November. It's now the third week of January. I promise you, I do know where we're going. Tony Gwynn batting bottom of the fifth inning, gets a base hit to left. He's on first. Sandberg steps up, fouls off the first one. Gwynn was off and running, probably would have had it. Next pitch, Gwynn goes again, really steals the base on Richard Dotson, the pitcher. It's not Sundberg's fault. Sundberg short hops it. Ripken makes a nice play. But man, Gwynn has an enormous jump. Helmet goes flying off. That's always one of my favorite things in baseball, when the guy's helmet goes flying off, like he's moving so fast. Helmet goes flying. Gwynn on second, nobody out, 1-1 pitch. And Sandberg's just such a consummate professional. Hits a bouncer to the right side. Whitaker up with it on to first. Gwynn moves over to third, one away. That brings up Steve Garvey. Garvey also bounces one, but right at Whitaker, over to first. Now there's two away. Sandberg and the hitter Garvey. Gwynn at third brings up Dale Murphy. Camera cuts to Joe Altobelli. AL manager, been around for a long time in the minor league organizations, had a cup of coffee, actually almost 3 seasons, Giants manager. One of the things I noticed about Joe Altobelli, he's got that cleft in his chin. What is that exactly? What is the cleft in the chin? You see, it turns out the chin cleft happens in utero. The jaw has two parts, two sides. In utero, it fuses. And someone who has a cleft in their chin, well, it's just a matter of the chin cleft is just an example, an expression of the jawbone not fusing in utero. Now, it's very interesting. If you Google it, some people, they want to get implants of the chin cleft. Others want their chin cleft removed. I always thought it was quite masculine, this odd genetic anomaly. Let me know what you think. If you did not have a chin cleft, would you want one? If you do have one, are you proud of it? Or do you in some strange way wish it removed? Well, if you're still with me here, you are along for the ride. We're talking parental discretion advised. We are talking chin clefts. We are talking batting helmets flying off. We are talking Dale Murphy at the plate, bottom of the fifth, 2 men out. Gwynn at third. Camera shows Dotson from the stretch looking in. Real interesting. On his left shoulder, if you're listening at home, I'm going to describe it as a circular patch on Dotson's left shoulder. 2 numbers, 6, then a little / numbers 46, 6 and 46. They did some homework. Turns out in 1984, the Chicago White Sox wore that patch to remember number 6, Charlie Lau, the great hitting coach, and fellow coach Lauren Babe. Both succumbed to cancer in the year prior. I don't know if you ever heard of UniWatch. It's the brainchild of Paul Lucas. Used to be on ESPN, then he spun it off, and now he does his own thing. I have a small obsession with uniform details. If there's something that changes, a piping, anything big, anything small, a special patch, a number used to be here and now it's gone, I am obsessed with minor uniform details, and Paul Lucas is like the patron saint of this OCD. Paul Lucas, UniWatch. I noticed the patch. Had to do a short, easy little dive onto Google to bring this to you. We did a piece on Charlie Lau early in the season. You might remember he appeared in the magnificent Max Dugan Returns. With Murphy batting, 2 away, Gwynn at third. Camera cuts again. Al, Earl, and Howard. Take a note of who's down in the pen. I'm going to show it to you listening. I'll describe it. Very, very end, you've got Bob Brenly probably just down there to catch them as they're warming up. And then moving to the right, you see that's Goose Gossage, Jesse Orozco, Bruce Sutter. Almost completely obscured is Mario Soto. He's going to get into the game a little bit later on, starting pitcher from the Reds. And finally, next to him on the end, that is Al Holland, Holland. Al Holland from the Philadelphia Phillies. I knew Al Holland was a Giant. Came up with the Pirates, gets dealt from Pittsburgh to the Giants in the Bill Madlock trade. Another one of a long list of bad trades by the Giants back then. Holland actually they never figure out how to use him. He's a lefty, really only has one pitch, a fastball, could move it, could spot it, had location, had a strong arm. They tried him as a starter. Didn't really have the stuff for a starter. He needs at least 3 pitches, I think. And 83, they trade him. They trade him to the Phillies along with an aging Joe Morgan. Giants get back in return Mark Davis, who was horrible for the Giants, but would later go on to win a Cy Young for San Diego. And for the Giants, it really was okay because they got Mike Krukow, a Giant to this day. Kruk. Holland actually has a great year for Philadelphia in 1983. Wins the Rolaids Reliever of the Year. Remember, that's a great trophy. Remember the Rolaids and Reliever of the Year? It was a fireman's hat. Oh my God, that's amazing. Finishes in the top 10 in the Cy Young Award, in the MVP award. Closes out the 83 NLCS against the Dodgers. Gets the save in Game 1 against Baltimore in the 83 World Series. Of course, the Orioles will go on to win the next 4 games, to win that series in 5. But Holland is a beast in 83. 84 makes the game. Unfortunately, Al Holland. There were 66-0 on the rosters between the NL and the AL. Of those 60 combined, 10 players did not play in the game. Of those 10, there were 5 players in the 1984 All-Star Game who did not play in the game and never played in another All-Star game at all. 5 guys named, 1 time did not enter the game. Can you name those 5? Of course you can't name. Come on, man. I gotta be a one of one in dorkness. Here they are for you. You've got Al Holland, reliever, Philadelphia Phillies. You have got Rafael Ramirez, shortstop, Atlanta Braves. You have got Mike Marshall, first baseman, San Diego Padres. From the Minnesota Twins, the catcher, Dave Engel. And the right-hander from the Baltimore Orioles, Mike Boddicker. Al Holland, Rafael Ramirez, Mike Marshall, Dave Engel, and Mike Boddicker. All named to one and only All-Star game, the 1984 All-Star game. None of them made the game. Might be a good idea for a buddy flick. They're reunited, carrying a grudge after all these years. Joe Altobelli, you're mine. Paul Owens, I owe you. All right, doofus. Murphy at the plate, drives one hard into right center. Going back on it is Dave Winfield, who's moved from left to right. When Reggie sat down, makes the catch, side retired, 3 away, no runs, 1 man left, end of 5. The National League leading 2-1, and we cut to commercial for The Fall Guy. Come on, baby. Wednesday nights, ABC, The Fall Guy. Lee Majors as Colt Seaver. Douglas Barr as Howie. And can we ever forget, dare we ever forget the, Alpha, Beta. Oh my God, Heather Thomas. If you're listening, there is the kind of like the poster of The Fall Guy. Got a beautiful Heather Thomas top left. Colt Seaver's Lee Majors in the center. How are we not in the picture? That big old 4x4 Chevy truck flying through the air, explosions behind it, splashed across the top of the Fall Guy. Let's get that off there because I know what I want to show you. Because if I were in your shoes, I'd want to be looking at this too rather than that poster. Let's look at this one. Oh, for you listening at home, if you're with me, you're with me. This is that incredible poster of Heather Thomas, pink, a bikini, in the hot tub. If the 70s people had the Farrah poster in the red bathing suit, the 80s kids, we had this one, Heather Thomas, pink bikini in a hot tub. Remember the theme song to Fall Guy? Sung by Lee Majors, actually. Well, I'm not the kind to kiss and tell, but I've been seen with Farrah. Never been with anything less than a 9. So fine. Been on fire with Sally Field. Gone fast with a girl named Bo. But somehow they just don't end up as mine. I might fall from a tall building. I might roll a brand new car. 'Cause I'm the unknown stuntman. The Red Redford's such a star. Oh, Colt Seavers, talk about a bad boy, man. Remember who he was? He was a stuntman who was retired, to look out for his health, but they were all stuntmen, stunt people, but they used their skills as bounty hunters. What a second act. What a second career. What'd you do? Well, I was a stuntman for a long time, and then I became a bounty hunter. Who'd you hang out with? Jody Banks. Who's she? You ever seen Heather Thomas? Yeah. That's her. That's a good life, man. Oh, Heather Thomas, Heather Thomas. What can I tell you about Heather Thomas? Heather Thomas was one of the stars of the 1982 film Zapped. I'm going to put that up on the camera. Y'all remember Zapped? Okay, I'm going to set it up for you. It stars Scott Baio and Tommy Ames. Remember them? They teamed up for the iconic Charles in Charge. Scott Baio, sort of a boy genius, a science genius. Something goes kind of sideways in the lab. Somehow Scott Baio acquires telekinetic powers. And so what do they use these powers for? Well, they torture bullies. They get their best of the grown-ups. They cheat at gambling. And they have scene after scene after scene, like you see here on the movie poster, of girls like little pink mini skirts flying up, buttons flying off their sweaters. You can see their like breasts in a bra. Parental discretion advised. So it made me start thinking again. There was this whole genre of films in the 1980s, right? The 80s teen sex comedy, 80s teen sex comedy. I've heard it said that the 80s teen sex comedy was sort of like the non-alcoholic beer of porn. I remember watching all these movies, and there's a high level, and then there's a lower level of these 80s teen sex comedies, right? Top would be like Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Risky Business, Losing It, also starring Tom Hanks. What else we got? Weird Science. Oh my God. Chips, Dips, Chains, and Whips. Definitely an 80s teen sex comedy. Last American Virgin. Class, which may be the genesis of my love of a beautiful MILF. Remember that? What's her name? Jacqueline Bisset, I believe, plays the MILF. Andrew McCarthy and Rob Lowe, they're at prep school, and somehow Andrew McCarthy ends up hooking up with Rob Lowe's mother. I can't believe I watched all these movies. What else? The Godfather of all teen sex comedies has got to be Porky's. That's 1981. Then you have a step down. I saw all these too. Spring Break, Hot Dog, the movie, Private Resort, starring a very young Johnny Depp, pre-21 Jump Street. What else? Joysticks, Screwballs. They all basically had the same plot. Bunch of young, horny guys trying to hook up, some obstacle in their way. Doesn't look like it's going to happen. Happens for some of them. Don't know if it's going to happen for the nice guy. Basically, every single movie the same. Every single movie poster the same. You have the super hot chick like in a bikini, or you just see her tush or her legs, whatever it was. And then the guys lined up alongside going, parental discretion is advised. Man, well, my parents were not discreet. I saw every single one of those. I drank every last one of those non-alcoholic beer of porn. Oh my God. Oh my God. Let me show you two more you might have forgotten about. Who is the Jimmy Stewart of our day? Who is the Jimmy Stewart? What are you talking about? The Jimmy Stewart of our day is none other than Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks had a 1980s teen sex comedy. You might not remember this, but there he is. There's the poster. Let me describe it. As I told you, beautiful long legs, always so interesting. Like now I can kind of look back, go, this did objectify women a lot. I really realized very often when we'd see these posters, they would just be the body part. Like you have here, these gorgeous legs. She's in thigh highs. You've got Tom Hanks at the door holding back his buddy's bachelor party. What's it say at the top? The poster tagline, shocking, shameless, sinful, wicked, and the party hasn't even started. Tom Hanks, et tu, Brute. Oh my goodness. Woo. How did this happen? How did this happen? How did we ever get here? Oh, you know which one I didn't even mention? Revenge of the Nerds. That's definitely an A-list teenage sex comedy from the 1980s. How did we get here? We were talking about the Fall Guy. We were talking about Heather Thomas. Didn't even mention her little coke addiction. God, man, the 1980s and high-profile coke addicts. Heather Thomas. Oh, you know who else? The earlier mentioned Al Holland, suspended 60 games in the 1986 Pittsburgh drug trials. Man, oh man, a lot of coca in the 80s. Seems like a theme on the Rated Rabbi Sports Card podcast, where sports cards and pop culture meet coke addiction and rehab. Oof. I was raised in this. Sweetheart, we love you. We trust you. Your mom and I are going to go out for the evening. You can go ahead and do whatever you want. Watch whatever. You're good boys, good food in the fridge. Help yourselves. The only thing we ask you to do is just listen. Don't eat from the tree. Don't eat from the tree and the knowledge of good and evil. That's the only thing we ask you not to do. Next thing you know, Heather Thomas, pink bikini in the hot tub. Woo! Man, oh man, HBO, Showtime, Cinemax. That commercial ends, and then I swear to God, what is the very next thing that shows up on the screen? Then, housewives play for pay, money on the side. What are you talking about? No, listen, I got to bring this up. Bear with me. I got something I got to show you. It's on my computer. Bum, 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 bum. There it is. And then, housewives play for pay. Wednesday night, 9:00 movie was the TV movie Money on the Side. And what does it say on the top of the screen? Parental discretion advised. I don't know. I remember this movie so vividly. It is this movie about these 3 suburban housewives who become hookers to make a little extra money. I mean, it's more complicated than that. Remember Karen Valentine? Karen Valentine, I'm going to show you a picture of Karen Valentine in a second here. Karen Valentine, she had a minute. Let me show you this one of Karen Valentine right here. Karen Valentine is one of the housewives who becomes a prostitute. There's a picture of her reaching for looks like a Benjamin taped to the mirror after a little play for pay. Her reasons are noble. In the movie money on the side. She is a suburban housewife and she's got bills to pay. Unfortunately, she has a special needs son and they can't make ends meet. Who else is in this brilliant 80s movie? Well, you've got the wonderful Linda Pearl. Linda Pearl, actually, at the end of the movie, I remember she commits suicide rather than going back to her alcoholic husband who wrapped the car around a pole, which was her original reason for getting into the business. And then really the star of the movie is this lady right here. That's Jamie Lee Curtis, friends. Jamie Lee Curtis plays a highly educated, successful secretary, or maybe we should call her an executive assistant, who loves hooking. Funny, it doesn't seem like this really happens in real life. Like a lot of happy hookers floating around, at least not in my world as a rabbi, I wonder. So Jamie Lee Curtis loves the thrill, loves the power, right? Loves hooking in the movie. This is a 1991 face-to-face playing card, a Canadian issue. It's a game. Hard to find a Jamie Lee Curtis card out there. I certainly am not interested in anything autographed from her. What else can I tell you? Oh my goodness, I never showed you an Al Holland card. I got 2 Al Holland cards to show, and I'd be remiss if I didn't show you his 82 Fleer spring training with the Giant. Had that slide slept lefty wind up. And then here is his 1984 Topps, part of the PSA master set from the game. Of course, a member of the Philadelphia Phillies. If you look closely, Holland has some brilliant facial hair. That's not a, you were with me, you know that's not a Fu Manchu. You know that's a handlebar mustache favored by Holland. Holland had it connect to the beard, big, like thick side beard, and then almost shaved the chin completely off. Good look, Holland. So what do we got? We got money on the side, parental discretion advised. Jamie Lee Curtis leading a band of housewife hookers. Also in money on the side is this guy. Longtime NFL wide receiver, flanker is what they used to call him. You had flankers and split ends. Now we just call them wide receivers. He was also a kick returner and a punter. That is Pat Studstill, shown here. Pat Studstill shown in a 1968 Topps. At this point, a member of the LA Rams. Started out, played several years before with the Rams. 61 to 67, he was a Detroit Lion. 68 to 71, he was a Ram. 1972, a member of the New England Patriots. A little bit about Pat Studstill. Played the character Cowboy in the movie Money on the Side. Was a 2-time Pro Bowler. Led the NFL in receiving yardage in 1966. Same season, 1966, became the 3rd player in NFL history to have a 99-yard touchdown run. Now we have 12 who've done it. The one I remember the most, I remember that Tony Dorsett 99-yard touchdown against the Vikings on Monday night. Studstill must have made some connections while a member of the Rams. Ends up in LA after he retires. 1974, Burt Reynolds hires him as a technical advisor on The Longest Yard, baby. Pat Studstill has a part. He plays a role in The Longest Yard, becomes an actor, ends up appearing in TV, in movies, over 300 commercials. He's on an episode of Magnum in 82, has a recurring role in The Dukes of Hazzard, 1981 to 1985. And as I said, Pat Studstill playing a character named Cowboy in Money on the Side. Parental discretion advised. All right. I'm going to wrap this thing up before I make a bigger fool out of myself. If you like this, leave a comment, say hello, tell a friend. Hey, there's this weird middle-aged dude in the basement talking about 1984 All-Star Game and going all sorts of odd directions. Indeed, I am, friends, and proud of it. Before we go, as you know, 2024 is devoted to the 1933 Gaudy Babe Ruth card 149, the red one. I have a short list, under 10 cards beyond that I eventually want to add to my collection. And just below the 33 Gaudy Ruth is just a few cards. And one of those cards in row 2, tier 2, is the 1993 Topps Finest Refractor of Barry Bonds. I almost was going to be able to entitle episode 53 Hobby Zag, because I came real close to zagging on my Ruth plan last night. The 93 Finest Refractor mythically has a print run of 241. Some debate it. That seems to be the common wisdom. They don't show up that often. I'd like to get it in a 9. I had dreams of a 10. Last week, one surfaced. Last night, one sold, and I was following it quietly, stealthily all week. Although, come on, anyone's looking for that card knows it. The 1993 Topps Finest Refractor. I'm going to bring it up and show it to you right now. The one that sold last night on PWCC is a PSA 10. I don't need a 10, but I thought, you know what? It's a Pop 38. One has not sold publicly since August of 2022. It's the only Bonds card I want, although I would love many. This is a significant card because it's his first card in a giant uniform. It's the first year of Topps Finest. It's the first refractor, an iconic, ever popular set. Again, PSA 10 is only a Pop 38. So I went for it. I thought about it. Whatever the final gavel price is, you got to add a third, maybe 30%, right? You take your number, 20% BP plus tax plus shipping. I usually add 30% on that gavel, and I set a number for myself, and it was going to be a big one. I guess I'm kind of relieved because I didn't come that close. I was off by about 35% by the final gavel. Final price all in was way more than I really needed to spend. Very clarifying for me, though. I know I don't need a PSA 10 because I don't want to spend that kind of money. I'll look for a PSA 9 and that'll be just fine. All right. Whew. What I didn't buy this week was that beautiful Barry Bonds card. My time will come again. All right. What did we talk about tonight? We talk about we trust you, sweetheart, but stay out of the driveway. Adam and Eve were set up in the garden. What did you expect them to do, Holy One? Oh, you wanted them out of the garden. You wanted them out in the world, mixing it up. I get it. You don't want grown-ups living in their basement when they're 34 years old. What else do we talk about? We talked about parental advisory stickers, parental discretion advised. We talked about Al Holland, hard-throwing left-hander. Had a minute there. 1983, 1984. Unfortunately, is one of 5 players from the 84 All-Star game in which that was their only appearance, and they did not play. What else? Fall Guy, I might jump an open drawbridge, a Tarzan from a vine, 'cause I'm the unknown stuntman that makes Eastwood look so fine. Heather Thomas got us to Zapped in her beautiful pink bikini in a hot tub. Talked 80s teen sex comedies, and there were a lot of them. Give me a comment. What was your first and what was your favorite? What 80s teen sex comedies do you remember? Talked about Money on the Side, one I've been waiting to bring to you for a long time. Suburban housewives become prostitutes. Led us to Pat Studstill, wrapped it up with a Barry Bonds, the big card that I did not buy this week. All right, I think I'm going to stop. I've had enough of this nonsense for a week. Until we meet again, may you be blessed and may you enjoy health and long life. So long for now.